What would we say in terms of people looking for solutions in academia, in the media, in politics? How do we, if you like, start the movement to reclaim what you called evidence-based empirical decision, evidence in decision making? In other words, learn to think again and stop being so emotional. There's a place for emotion, but there's a place for thinking.
I think, well, I mean, if you're a university student, the first thing you want to note is that you're there to learn to think and to write and to read and to speak. That's what you're there to do. And the reason you're there to do that is because that makes you incredibly competent. Because you're going to have to communicate with people for the rest of your life. And if your communication has depth and clarity, then you can see your way forward and you can bring other people aboard and you can do great things. And so it's super useful to get a real liberal arts education because it can make you into a great communicator and thinker. If you're going to university, read the great books. And you can find professors who will teach you that, but that's what you're there to do. You're there to spend 4 years immersing yourself in the imitation of the greatest people that our culture has produced. And if you think, well, there were no great people, well, then you might as well not go to university, because university is the storehouse of the thoughts of great people. And if you dispense with the whole notion of great, then, well, maybe you're there to become a political activist, but that's not university. That's something else. That's like an ideological cult. And maybe that's what you want. And I mean, you'll pay the price for that one way or the other. But you, even as a university student, you have to take on the burden of educating yourself to a large degree, but you have to decide that that's what you want and that that's what you need. In terms of your own personal life, I have a program that I developed with my colleagues called the Future Authoring Program. It's at selfauthoring.com, and it helps people develop a vision for their life along about 6 fundamental dimensions: family, education, mental and physical health, career, avoidance of temptation like drug and alcohol use. We tried to parse out use of time, productive and meaningful use of time outside of work. We tried to parameterize a decent life and then to guide people through the process of imagining what their life could be like if they put it together properly. And you need to develop a vision for your life and a sense of who you could be if you were the character that you could be. And thinking through that and articulating it is actually part of, well, it should be part of a classic liberal arts education, because the whole point of education, apart from the technical end, which is important, is to produce a noble citizen. That's the point, not to produce a bloody political activist.
Well, and we should keep in mind, though, of course, even at Chatswood that night, a lot of those people, most of them, are not at university. So they're not excluded either from, in any way, shape or form, from broadening their horizon.
It's not like they're not doing important things. Like working men, for example, working people in general, I don't care what they're doing. If they're working at a diner as a waiter, or they're laying bricks, or working a forklift, or they're plumbers, or these people are bloody important. They build the infrastructure. And there's a huge difference between a craftsman who takes pride and care in what he's doing and contributes to his family and the community in that nobility of work, and someone who does a slipshod and haphazard job. There's great nobility in genuine work. So, and I believe that you have just as much power, let's say, as much authority, as much clout as a forthright and honest working person as you do as an intellectual. And I mean, you can be very successful as a working person if you're diligent and honest and committed and competent and aiming up. Because look, I do believe that each person is a center of the world, and you have what you need right at that center. And maybe you're not intellectual, but you're good with your hands and you're practical and solid, and people can rely on you. It's like, man, that's a big deal, because then when their roof blows off in the middle of a storm, they can call you up and you're there in an hour and you put the damn thing back together, and hooray for you. All of these things are important. And so there's great nobility in working class work as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Jordan, that's again a fascinating conversation from my perspective, and it's tremendous to be able to interact with somebody who cares passionately, because that's what they're picking up. They know it's not about you. You're actually trying to make a difference for people. You know, we're seeing this. I'm really disturbed by the way in which some of these movements we're seeing at the moment are trying to divide men from women. And a lot of men are getting this idea that somehow their masculinity is toxic. Well, you know, we don't say that when the brave young French policeman takes a bullet for a young woman and her daughter in a French supermarket. We celebrate that. And I actually think that not all, but the great majority of men want to be noble. They know their flaws. As you said, they've got to be honest about them. We all need to be honest. But they also have a big part of them, if you like, that divine spike, divine spark, that leads them to want to be responsible, noble people.
Yes, and that's what women want from men too. So unless they've been damaged in their relationships so that they don't trust men at all, and then are prepared to dispense with all of them, which isn't helpful. But you know, men and women need to call to the nobility in each other. And that is what they both want, because you want a stalwart companion by your side. You know, if you're a man, you want someone you can trust and who you can rely on and who will help guide you and care for you and to care for your children and all of that and to make a life with. And if you're a woman, you want a man that you can rely on and that's going to help you deal with the children and with the excess fragility that you have because of your pronounced role in reproduction. And that is what we want. And to denigrate and to split men and women apart is to damage humanity itself, because it's not like we're all men or all women. I have sisters and a mother and a wife and a daughter, and women have husbands and sons and fathers. We're not separate. And to split us apart on the basis of sex is, well, it's as pathological as a suicidal impulse or a murderous impulse or a genocidal impulse. None of that's good. It's not acceptable. But we're a hell of a lot better off than we were, and things are getting better, and we can do better yet. And that's a way better story.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you value vital conversations like this one, please like, share, subscribe, and join the conversation.